Welcome to a brand new edition of Bit Nerd, your daily nerd out on the most interesting car of the day from all the automotive enthusiast auction sites. My name is John Polnick. I'm recording this show from the Container Park in downtown Las Vegas, along with my partner Michael Deeb, who we feed in to the show from San Francisco in his Deeb studio. What's up, Michael Deeb? How are you today? Looking good,
Good morning, John. I am very excited about this car today. This is a car, I don't want to say I'd sell my body part for, but this is a car, lustworthy.
You'd be better off getting a paper route. But I think I mean, it's worth a shot. I mean, let's get out the Sawzall. Let's start chopping up. I know a guy who buys arms. That's a little inside thing for everybody who's watching that knows the Rami Show.
Cadaver.
Check out the Rami Show. That's one of our sister channels, and we've got new videos coming up there every week if you haven't checked that out. Hey, listen, if you're new to this channel, we appreciate you checking it out. What this is a show where we talk about the most interesting car of the day from all the automotive sites. So we go through Bring a Trailer, Cars and Bids, PCAR Market, and more. Mark to all those guys. We find the most interesting car. Michael Deeb and I have a conversation about that car. What makes it most interesting? It's not always the most expensive. It's not always the most rare. It's not always the most highest performance, but there's always something about that car that makes it the most interesting car of the day. We have a conversation about the car, and then we make a prediction as to what's going to happen with that car's auction at the end of the auction. What will that car sell for or not, and why? And we encourage you to play along. It's like Price is Right, only with enthusiast cars. You can go ahead in the comments and put your bid. See if your skills at appraising a car are better than ours. So we do encourage you to play along. It is a lot of fun to see everyone get on board. So, all right, here it is. Bid Nerd, your daily nerd out on the most interesting car of the day. Hit the subscribe, like, and notification button. Let's get to the car. Oh, you know what? Before I gotta mention God and Porsche of Las Vegas, because they're supporting us now, right? They are on board. Right. So big shout out to God and Porsche of Las Vegas. Thanks, guys, for being part of the show. And we will hear from them a little later in the show. All right, this is the kind of car that they would have at God and Classic. This thing is hot. We're burning up the show with this one. Look at that. Michael Deeb, what are we talking about here for those who don't immediately know already?
Our friends at PCAR Market have sourced out of, let me read it to you, JP, out of Porsche Burlington. So that's Burlington, MA, Massachusetts. This 2004 Porsche 911 GT3. Here's the rub, John. This car has 1,100 original miles. Basically, this car has been sitting in a private collection and has been pulled out of the private collection to be brought to market. They changed the tires. I think the fronts are 19s and the rears are 20s. And I say that in the year, 2019, 2020. So slightly newer tires. But other than that, there is not a lot to report. If you don't already know, this was the first Metzger engine, normally aspirated GT car that we got in the United States. This was the first car that Porsche made as a completely driver-focused, spare no expense, high revving motor, suspension, brakes, seats, everything to match. This was a car that was meant to go around the track and go around as fast and as safe and give you the best, feeling and communication possible. Later versions of this car were produced in extraordinary numbers. Most GT3s are built in the 2,500 unit range. But what's interesting about the 996 GT3 is they only made 1,500 of them. So by the numbers, when we look back on all the GT3s, I think that the 2004 GT3 is going to be a high watermark because there's so few of them. So to find one in this condition still is really, really rare. All stock, basically brand new, and by the numbers, rarer than any of the GT3s they've made since. So I thought this would be a fun chance to revisit the car, talk about the highlights, and see what this car will bring. GT3s, John, you remember, you could pick these up, really nice ones, for $60,000 to $80,000 all day long. But just a few years ago, these cars really jumped and took off in value. And I think that the number that this car brings should surprise everyone who's watching. So, JP, what would you like to say about this car that hasn't already been said? I mean, the cars have gotten rave reviews because of their drivability, their usability, and their feedback, and well earned. I've owned a couple of GT3s in my life, but never the 996. I think one day these will be one of the most collectible and arguably the best driver one because it doesn't have any aids. There's not, uh, you know, yaw control and all these weird things that came on later cars with those advanced Bosch systems. This car has no guardian angels. It's just you and your courage.
Yeah, I mean, this is a legendary car, of course. I mean, if you know anything about Porsches, you know what a 993 is, you know what a 996 GT3 is. When the 996 came out, of course, we all know that it was poo-pooed. It was not. It was a successful car commercially, but Porsche enthusiasts and purists were not big fans of what was done from a style point of view with the water pumpers. They talked about how the cars were too refined and kind of left the raw visceralness of the air-cooled 911 in the past, and they bemoaned all the new features of the more modern car. But when they brought the GT3 version of it out, a lot of that kind of went to the wayside. People really realized how great the 996 was. But that's just enthusiasts. I mean, this car was as loved as it was by people who got it right away, it was still kind of poo-pooed in general. This car was, a lot of people were like, oh, why they made this driver-focused, awesome Porsche 911, but they made it a narrow body. Why didn't they make it a wide body? Why didn't they make it cooler looking, blah, 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 blah. And, a lot of people just walked right by this car because it did look a lot like a regular base 996, which was not nearly as good. And I'm not a 996 poo-pooer. I like 996s, especially the .2s. This headlight, everyone calls the fried egg. This is not the fried egg. The fried egg was the first gen 996. So this was when they updated the facelift in 2001 on the turbos and 2002 on the regular 996. This car is every bit as great a driver as any air-cooled 911 you could possibly get. Yeah, you want to be in this cockpit. A lot of people talk about how bad 996s are from the interior point of view, but I will say, and I've said it a million times over, ergonomically, it's one of the best cars ever made. That little ledge here, I don't know if you could see my little cursor here, is perfect for your elbow when your hands are on the wheel. Rather than putting your elbow up on top of the door sill where your shoulder is all jacked up, you have it. It's like the perfect spot. It's like they really figured all this ergonomic stuff. It's a little 90s ish, but in black, it's great. It sucks it all up. I think it's aging particularly well. Surprised that this car has red seat belts, given all the yellow going on. And I gotta say, I don't hate it. I kind of like it. It matches that little teeny bit of red there on the seat belt receptacle. So.
And the brakes are red because there's steel brakes on this car. So there was an interesting comment, John, if I can jump in. I hope I'm not cutting you off, but
no, please do.
Somebody said, I can't believe somebody took a non-ceramic car. In other words, it didn't have ceramic brakes and put it away. Like why would you bother to do that? And I my counter to that is
wait. What? I don't understand what they mean. A non-ceramic car and put it away.
Like somebody put this in a private collection and didn't drive it, basically speculating on the value of the car. And he was criticizing that, like, why would you do that with a car with low spec? In other words, it doesn't have full leather dashboard and it doesn't have the ceramic brakes. He was poo-pooing on the choice of the way the car was optioned. And I just scoff at that because the reality is they only made 1,500. So any of these that are put away is a good investment with regards to, I think, what the long-term viability for the value is on this car. So really interesting. But I think the red on the seat belts and the red on the brakes kind of makes sense. Porsche was racing a car in sports car racing, and they had sponsorship from DHL, the delivery system, and the DHL corporate colors are yellow with red trim. And so I kind of feel like this car fits in that mold of the RS Spider that was storming, endurance racing around the world and here in the United States. I remember seeing those cars race at Laguna Seca, and I have a yellow DHL Porsche branded hat from my trip to the track back then. So, cool stuff. I don't mind the red seatbelts either. I think this car looks really good, and I think it's going to do well.
Well, the big question is, will this car bring a bunch of money? Sure, you bet. Does the person that own it thinks it's worth a gajillion dollars? Or rather,
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah, I'm sure he or she does. But just how crazy is their expectation? I think it's, we have to mention too the fact that this is an 1,100-mile car, and the fact is that whoever buys it's probably going to wind up putting it in another collection. This car just isn't going to get driven. One of the best driving cars ever made is just going to sit in a room somewhere, and I think that's a shame.
Agreed.
It's odd timing for the owner of this car. If somebody's been sitting on this thing, why the hell now? I mean, are they going? Did they not see, 6 months ago, or, that prices were just bonkers? And that, we've seen a trend of things. I don't know if correction is the right word, but we've seen things 6 months ago, prices were crazy on everything. And then that kind of stopped. They stayed high. And I think that would have been the moment where if you're sitting on something like this, you're going, all right, now's the time to sell, right? Why did you wait 6 months to bring this to market? It's winter. You're on a platform that is not the best. Now, PCAR market does surprise us and bring some pretty big money sometimes. And maybe they like the idea of not competing with so many more cars on something like VAT. But I don't know. What do you think of this platform choice for this car? And do you think it's going to bring whatever the expectation, or is this going to deal tank?
I don't know. That's a good question. It could wind up in the deal tank for, like over 200 grand or something silly, which would be ridiculous. But it is weird. If you were thinking long term and you were going to sell this car, that the moment to do that was 6 months ago, and now the bottom's dropped out. But maybe this guy lost all his money to FTX. Who knows?
Yeah, good point. Yeah, he's trying to recap, or someone who's trying to cash out on something that's still worth a little bit of money, but they're thinking maybe there's going to be a real estate drop, or maybe buy themselves some Doge coins or something like that, because I don't know. They say Elon said that you can buy a Tesla soon with them. I don't know. What's your bid, Michael Deeb? What's this car going to bring?
All right, John. So I think in a perfect world, I think this car brings $190,000 and it sells for that price. The reality is there are no comparable ones. There's no comparable sales for this car. First of all, they built fewer of them, which means we got less of them here in the United States. And we just rarely see 996 generation GT3s with such low miles. So I have nothing in this mileage category from a 996 GT3 in my memory bank that I can ever recall. So this car compares to nothing. But all the money for one of these would be about $190,000. It wouldn't shock me, John, and I say this with a straight face, it wouldn't shock me if this owner believes that he's going to get $250,000 to $300,000 for this car. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think if you have that kind of money and you're looking for a collectible Metzger engine car, then you jump up to a 997, either .1 or .2, and get yourself an RS with maybe not similarly low miles, but ridiculously low miles, like under 20,000 miles or under 10,000 miles for 250 to 300 grand. I don't think you spend it on this beautiful, hermetically sealed, 996 standard GT3. I just don't think that's where I'd put my money if I had it myself. So I think the number has to be around or just below 200 grand. And so I'm going to say 190 and send it back to you.
Yep. I'm going to go ahead and look, we've been talking about air-cooled Porsches a lot on the show, and in rare Porsches in general. The things that are bringing the big money are the cars that click all the boxes. This car has low miles. This car is optioned well. This car is a special car. This car doesn't have anything. They haven't modded anything. The only thing that's not original were the tires, I think, right? Which is good, which you have to change the tires on something like this. This car is the perfect example.
A rare color.
It's a rare color, right? Yeah. With the hardback seats that are color matched. This car is the perfect example of what it is. You're not going to find a better GT3 You're just not. I mean, maybe
Yeah.
this one has everything, no accidents, no weird stories, nothing. So given all of that, I think it brings the big money. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to say 195. I think it could break 200. I think I'm
and
with
it might.
you. Yeah. I think I'm with you though on the big question is the expectation. Like you said, what are the expectations of the seller? Does he think this is a $250,000 car? Does he think it's a $300,000 car? I think this car could be a $300,000 car in the future, just from inflation alone. But this thing has every bit of potential to be to bring all the money, even with as rocky as things are. This is the kind of car that can make PCAR market look really good. I wonder if the person went to BAT first and they didn't give him the reserve that he wanted, so he went to PCAR market, and there, PCAR market will let you do pretty much anything. And does this car wind up in the deal tank? I don't know.
Yeah, this car is right in PCAR market's backyard. It's in Massachusetts. It's not that far away.
Yeah.
John, 6 months ago, I wouldn't have batted an eyelash if this car would have brought $250,000-$260,000 6 months ago. But a lot has changed. A lot has happened since then. And so I just feel like you got to cool your jets a little bit and let's get real. And I think that, your bid, my bid, even if it brings $200,000, I tip my hat to the seller and say, good job. And I tip my hat to the buyer and say, well bought. Again, because of the low production numbers, finding as new condition 996 GT3s is just going to get harder and harder to find. So this is if you're speculating on the value or the long-term collectability of this car, this is the best example I can remember ever seeing, period. I don't remember seeing a 996 GT3 this nice, not even new. So so there you go.
If this car brings less than either of our bids, I think it's a huge disappointment. I mean, I think that shows that there is definitely a softening if this car doesn't bring $190, 200. That's just the way it is, because this really is as perfect as they get. All right, guys, what do you think? Put time to put your bid in. Are we right? Are we wrong? Do you think we're way wrong? Let us know in the comments below. We love it when you guys play along, and we are going to find out exactly what happens with this car's this beautiful GT3's auction right after this. Hey guys, I gotta tell you about our friends Godden Porsche of Las Vegas and Godden Classic. If you're looking for a new Porsche or a classic, you gotta call our friend Steve at Godden. This guy.
1989 linen gray metallic G50 cab.
Is that gonna be for sale?
It is gonna be for sale. The car only has 65,000 miles.
Save yourself the hassle of screwing around with all the auctions like we always talk about, and just talk to Steve. He'll find you the classic Porsche you're looking for. Godden Porsche of Las Vegas. All right, guys, welcome back to Bid Nerds, your daily nerd out on the most interesting car of the day. Hope you enjoyed that message from our friends at Godden Porsche of Las Vegas. Check them out. Check out their website. They got some cool stuff available right now. All right, so this GT3, now that we're in the future, Michael Deeb, what are the results? Which one of us was right? Which one of us was wrong? I feel like you're having a good week. I know.
You smell that?
Yeah,
John,
yeah.
wait, hold on. Stop the show.
Yeah.
You smell it? It smells like a Yahtzee. I mean,
man, that was close.
Baby.
That was close. Should we? Just for the audience out there, Yahtzees are when one of us predict the price exactly right.
Yeah.
I think we should change the Yahtzee to be within $1,000. Because I think you were kind of robbed here, right? Because it was.
I know.
What was the result here?
All right, JP. So what we're talking about on PCAR Market was this stunning 2004 GT3, and I can't remember, but it had like almost no miles on it, 1,000 miles. So this car is just basically a time machine. You and I would both sell, something precious to have this car, even in yellow. I would imagine yellow's neither one of our first choices, but this car is spectacular. So I said 190,000. You took the over at 195. We both agreed that 6 months ago, this car would have brought over $200,000 easy. But in the market today, I thought our numbers were pretty good. It was also on PCAR and not Bring a Trailer. I do think the seller left some money on the table that way, JP. This car was on Bring a Trailer. I think you would have won with your guess. But my guess at $190,000 was only off by $722. Our car sold on PCAR Market on Wednesday on 29 bids for $190,722. I was hundreds of dollars away from a Yahtzee. That was pretty close. But we were all over that one, JP. We guessed it correct for the platform and the market today. I don't think we got lucky. I think that we were pretty spot on. Easily, this is over a $200,000 car just a few months ago. But here we are in a wet winter in January. Sleepy Joe is not doing a good job, and the economy is going nowhere. So here we are. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this particular car, yes, it's beautiful. It's perfect. All the things that we talked about before the break. This is one of those platform questions that we're constantly asked. Which platform should we put our car on? Should you put it on Bring a Trailer? PCAR Market, whatever. What are the differences? And the key difference between PCAR Market and Bring a Trailer, and probably the number one advantage to PCAR Market, is getting to market very quickly, right? You don't have to wait. If you have your assets ready, all your photos, your videos, what have you, you submit that stuff to PCAR Market. Not only will they get it up quickly, like we're talking within days, they'll kind of be on your butt about it. They're to the borderline pushy about it, right? That's one of the things that is kind of an objection to PCAR Market, is that they're a little used car salesman-y.
I remember a story you telling me where you submitted, if I think I remember this correctly, you submitted a car to them and they replied to you like with the link to your car being live. You're like, hey, will you guys see this car? And they're like, it's up. And you're like, what? Oh shit.
Yeah. So, in a market where right now you're sitting here going, okay, Bring a Trailer seems to still be eating everyone's lunch. They're still getting the most money for most cars. Almost always, but not always. I mean, we've seen some pretty stellar numbers on PCAR Market. We've seen some stellar numbers on Marked, but not lately. The last few cars that have closed on Marked have not done well. We talked about, you can watch the video from earlier in the week about the commemorative edition.
That was a weird result. I mean, really, you and I were like talking off there going, what happened there? That's crazy.
This number on this GT3 to me does not seem off. I don't know why I was more aggressive. Do I think it would have brought more money on BAT? Maybe, but it really, I don't know. I think, though, given the fact that the market is in such we're not in turmoil yet. We're in a place of just massive uncertainty. Everyone is waiting on pins and needles. When's the shoe going to drop, right? So if you're sitting there and you've got something like this and you don't want to be holding the bag, right? If the bottom does happen to fall out, which we're not saying the sky is falling, we're not saying that there's just going to be a massive collapse. But if there is this the sack that you want to be holding? We talk about a lot of times with cars, if you buy a car, or if you have a really cool, old Porsche that you drive, all right, no problem. That's pretty fun. But clearly this car is straight up investment. This is investment class all the way, right? No one is buying this car to drive it, unfortunately. That's the sad reality of this thing. It's just going to go into a vault, and some people are going to look at it. So this car may as well be crypto. It may as well be, a mutual fund or any other asset class, right? Or real estate. And it's closer to art because at least it's physical and you can look at it. You can open up the garage when you have people over for dinner and go, look what I just bought. But, turn it over and occasionally take a ride in or something like that. But you're not going to go do the crest in this car and get stone chips in it. There's no way. Yeah, you can't risk driving this really anywhere other than maybe once on a super special occasion or something like that. It's like opening a bottle of rare wine. Vegas Auto Fest. You would bring it to Vegas Auto Fest on a trailer, So yeah, I mean, I think that that's PCAR's competitive advantage, getting quick to market. And right now, if you're like going, I want to get out, and I want to get out right now, I don't want to wait for that other shoe to drop, then PCAR Market might be your game. What do you guys think out there? Was this a good result? I think this is a good result. I think this shows that these things are still strong, because even though this is really low mileage, amazing car, I mean, $190,000 for a 996 GT3. It wasn't long ago that, I mean, this car wouldn't have even broken 100, a couple of years ago. So we saw this big, snap up in the value of all these things, and they seem to be holding.
Wow. Interesting. Yeah. The production numbers are low, even though on paper it's the least or sort of lowest performing of the GT3 or the Mesker engine cars. People that have really driven them and owned them, Paul at Auto Kennel, again, we reference him. We love you. Shout out to Paul Kramer. He owns one and says it's his favorite driving modern 911 of all time. It's just a spectacular car. Yeah. So $200,000 for a car that was barely $100,000 when new. That's not bad, man.
Well, when you were at God and Porsche of Las Vegas, back in, what was it, 2019, you guys had that GT2 996 with 8,000 miles. And that's
different animal. Yeah.
Different animal, arguably the more valuable car
sure.
because of GT2 and just, an amazing vehicle. But here's the thing. I mean, that car, you guys had it for $150,000 and it was like crickets. Everyone was like, no, those cars were going for under 100. And now there's no way in hell you're touching one of those for $150 without a few miles.
Oh yeah, it was. I actually think Mac bought it correctly, but it was diminishing returns because the market had been receding since 2016 all the way through, sort of the middle of 2020 when the market started taking uptick and governments were giving away money and all that nonsense. Yeah. But that car today with 8,000 miles is a $250,000 car. So congratulations to the person who finally bought that from God and Porsche. I wanted that car, but
you know, both, brother.
There's a few cars that we had at Godden that you and I would have fought over. Remember that 964 Turbo in Polar Silver with the Speedline wheels.
The list is long. Godden Porsche gets a lot of really great cars.
Oh, baby, man.
All right, guys. What do you think of the results of this GT3? What do you think? Is it time to unload these investment class cars if you want to cash out, or are you going to be stuck with them until the market happens to come back in a year? If the market does go down, if we do see the bottom fall out, are we talking about a 6-month till recovery? Are we talking about 12, 24?
That's a good question.
Fan of the All In podcast, those guys are saying 24. So they're saying spring of the year 24 at the earliest for recovery is what they're saying. So just, I don't know. What do you guys think? We'd sure like to hear from you in the comments below. We love hearing from you guys. And hit the subscribe, like, and notification button if you haven't done so already. And Michael Deep, thank you. Very good job. We will see you all tomorrow.
Subscribe! Get those words!